A Ghost Story is directed by David Lowery, and this film tells the story of a wife who is portrayed by Rooney Mara and her husband who is portrayed by Casey Affleck. And after being involved in a terrible car accident, her husband returns from beyond the grave in the form of a white-sheeted ghost. And it shows him from the outside looking in on how his family and his life moves on without him, and it focuses on themes such as legacy and loss and to what happens to the world around you after you die. Every year you get those big studio blockbuster movies like your Star Wars films and your superhero movies, and I obviously enjoy those movies quite a bit, but every year there are those handful of independent films that I look forward to, and they're just as big on my radar as some of the much bigger films. And A Ghost Story was without a doubt one of my most anticipated independent films this year. This movie was produced by A24, which I've talked about numerous times, and you guys know that I love this production company. I was fully anticipating to adore A Ghost Story. I was going into this film expecting it to be one of my favorite movies of the year. The premise alone sounds heartbreaking and poetic, and ultimately I found this movie to be a little underwhelming. I don't really want to start with the negatives. I want to talk about what I think works with this movie. First of all, Rooney Mara gives a beautiful performance as just this heartbroken widow. There are several scenes where she gives a very powerful and genuine performance that I really thought was definitely one of the highlights of the film. This is also a gorgeous looking movie. A Ghost Story has this very dreamlike look throughout the entire movie. It reminded me of old Super 8 reels, the way that this film is shot using 4:3 aspect ratio. It just has this very nostalgic look while also maintaining this very ethereal look to it. By far, my favorite thing about this movie and what I liked most about it is what it does in regards to horror tropes. The way it explains certain paranormal events and the way that it explains why things may go bump in the night, I thought was really brilliant. David Lowery made a very good decision when he was choosing his cinematographer for this movie, because the person that shot this film also shot movies like You're Next, and he also shot one of the skits from VHS. But the way that this film utilizes the third of the frame combined with the incredible chilling score, it's really eerie, and it gives it this essence that you're watching a horror movie even though you're not. I just want to reiterate that. This is not a horror movie. This is a drama, and if you go into this film expecting this to be the newest installment into the Conjuring franchise, you're going to be very, very disappointed. Now, unfortunately, speaking of disappointments, that's exactly what I thought this movie was. What's very impressive about this film is the way that it gives off this illusion that what it's doing is very unconventional, in the way that the character is in this very retro-looking bedsheet and what a child would imagine a ghost looks like. But what the heart of this film is, and what the entire movie is focused around, and what the movie is about, it's something that I've seen before. And when I was watching this movie, I kept waiting and waiting for this film to say something a little bit more insightful than we're all just dust in the wind, which frankly isn't a new revelation. There's one scene in particular that really killed off any sense of wonderment or discovery that I had with this movie at all. And as I was sitting in the theater, I was trying to decipher exactly what the movie was trying to say in the big picture of this entire film. Unfortunately, they sit you down as an audience and give you this very pessimistic and heavy-handed monologue that pretty much told me, no, you've got pretty much the basic idea of what this movie is. And I personally was just very surprised that critics are saying that this film is so unconventional and so new and so fresh, when the biggest question that this movie even bothers to ask is, are we all just dust in the wind? And do we have a bigger purpose in life? And frankly, I just think that that's a question that's been asked for a very long time in numerous different movies. I really wanted to love A Ghost Story. I fully went into this film expecting to be completely heartbroken, but unfortunately, because of some very strange editing choices, one specifically involving what I believe to be a pumpkin pie, I ultimately left this movie very unmoved and mostly feeling underwhelmed because of this movie's very familiar questions that it asks. This has been by far my biggest disappointment of the year. As I said, I really wanted to love this movie, but ultimately I just couldn't. I think it's okay at best. Thankfully, we do have more A24 films coming out later this year, so fingers fingers crossed for those. Also, I just wanted to let you guys know that I will be out of town this weekend, so I will not be able to see Detroit or The Dark Tower, so those reviews will be coming around this time next week. I also will try to go see Wind River. Hopefully I can get a review up for that as well. But until then, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you liked today's video, and if you did, click the link down below, subscribe to my channel for more movie reviews and movie related things. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.